You may have magical abilities.
This world is open to everyone. It can be a profession. It's more than just a job. This activity should align with the mission of your soul. If you already feel a calling inside, you need to move in this direction.
Why do some people see and feel more than others? And are you among those who see this world in a special light? Today, let's talk about the markers that indicate you may have magical abilities. Yaroslav, please tell us, how can one understand whether a person's calling toward esotericism has a real, genuine foundation and whether that person should develop in this direction?
Usually, this calling is internal. It comes at a certain point in life when a person, first of all, realizes that they no longer want or are able to live the way they did before. When certain material things that a person relied on cease to exist in their life, fall apart, or somehow transform. These could be relationships that are no longer the same, or they leave one's life. It could be some difficulties at work. So a person worked and worked, everything seemed to be fine, and then suddenly things just aren't working out anymore. Or there's this inner feeling as if the job is pushing you out, that you need to move on, that something needs to change. And at the same time, against this background, a certain interest arises in the person. That is, a person starts asking themselves, who am I? Why am I even alive? What is the meaning of my life? How is this world arranged? Perhaps it is possible that this world isn't at all the way the vast majority of people around us perceive it to be. And maybe I also need to start living my life in a completely different way. Because my whole life could potentially not be at all the way I see it right now. And a person feels a kind of inner need and inner dissatisfaction, which pushes them toward this search.
And how can you tell if a person can work with energies? What are the specific markers of this?
Well, actually, every person can work with energies, but if you have had any specific instances in your life when, for example, you felt heat in your palms, or when you placed your hands on a relative or a child and the pain went away, or the person calmed down, or maybe people tell you, "Oh, I really like your energy. I just want to be around you." Or whenever we talk, I always feel better. Even though you might just talk about ordinary things, the person feels relief inside themselves. Or when you're at work, your presence creates a certain atmosphere that people want to be in. They are drawn to this atmosphere. Certain dreams you have can also be markers, dreams that later come true, or through which you receive certain hints and you can understand what they mean and somehow use them in your life. And you may also experience certain visions when you seem to be not quite asleep, but you see some information, somehow sense energy, feel the energy of the spaces you are in. You walk into a room and you immediately sense that something is off with the energy there. Or when you are talking to someone, you feel it as well. Or sometimes information just comes to you like a flash in your mind. For example, your friend is sharing a problem with you and you immediately receive the solution. And this solution might not be obvious at all. All of this can also indicate that you are already ready to immerse yourself in this process. In other words, your mission is already calling you to start developing this, to begin exploring it within yourself, to start unlocking your abilities.
Is the world of esotericism and magic open to everyone, or is it only for so called chosen people, the selected ones?
This world is open to everyone, but each person establishes their own personal relationship with it. For some, it's simply an opportunity to find answers and solutions to certain situations in their lives. For others, it's a chance to help their loved ones and relatives. And for some, it becomes their true life mission. That is, a person immerses themselves in this path, begins to help other people, perhaps even groups of people. In other words, a person finds themselves in this as their purpose, their calling.
Can the magical path, the mystical path, be treated as a profession?
Yes, it can be a profession. There have always been healers, there have always been shamans, there have always been people in our society who worked with energies and, in one way or another, helped other people, some more, some less. But maybe it's more than just a job, like you come in, do your work, and go home. Because this activity should correspond to the mission of a person's soul. So if the soul has chosen such a mission for this life, then yes, it can be a profession.
How can you tell that all those markers you mentioned, the ones you talked about, aren't just made up because you really want to feel special, so to speak, but that they're actually real?
Actually, if you already feel such an inner pull, that already indicates that you need to move in this direction. Because people who, well, aren't inclined toward this at all, they simply don't believe in any of it. They dismiss it entirely. And our mind also very often devalues some of our those first experiences of interacting with subtle energies, with magical processes in our lives. The mind tends to immediately dismiss everything, telling us, no, come on, you just made that up. What sign did you even see there? It's just, a coincidence of some facts. No, you just dreamed it. It just happened to coincide, and that's why it repeated itself. And on this path, it is very important not to let the mind, especially at the beginning, devalue things, because it is the mind that will limit you and prevent you from moving forward on this journey. At this moment, it's very important to listen to your heart, to your intuition, and to take the actions your intuition suggests, even if they are illogical, even if they can't be explained by the mind, and move in that direction in your development. Yes, go to that training or seek out that mentor whom you truly feel can guide you along this path, who can help you unlock your abilities.
What qualities should one nurture and develop within themselves in order to follow this path, the path of magical practices, esotericism, and so on?
Well, the main quality is to learn to listen to yourself, to feel yourself. It's about learning to attune yourself to the space, to the Akashic records, to the universe, yes, to feel the universe, to sense what the universe wants to do or convey through me, or how I can, at this moment, in what role I can serve as an instrument for the universe and higher powers.
Are there any risks for people who want to pursue esotericism as a profession?
Well, there are probably risks everywhere. Yes, there can be certain pitfalls here. You can go down a path that is, let's say, not entirely legal. There are some esoteric practitioners who like to do that, but any such path that bypasses, let's say, the laws of the universe is punished, or you have to pay for it, usually energetically. That's why I always choose more legal, benevolent paths. I study the laws of the universe. I also tell people about them. I work, if I can put it that way, on the channels of light. I work through the source, meaning through that source from which everything comes, all information, all energy, all processes, every process. And I do not cooperate with any entities that try to obtain information illegally or carry out any energetic processes that could harm either the practitioner working with them or the people those processes are directed at. So, the Akashic Records is the method I use. Um, with it, it is impossible by definition to harm yourself or other people. That is simply how this process works.
Give some practical advice. What should people do who are just now realizing that they really want to develop in this direction, to follow this path, to learn and discover more?
Um,
The first steps.
yes, there are two paths. Either you will try to explore yourself on your own, um, to explore certain tools that you can use along this journey. And this path is quite thorny, it's long, and it can even be somewhat dangerous. I also tried to go down this path myself, but when I turned to a teacher, when I found a teacher, I just breathed a sigh of relief. It became much easier for me. Suddenly, everything I had tried to master on my own came together into such a complete and harmonious picture. All that chaos, all the knowledge I had gathered before, piece by piece, it all came together into one puzzle. Everything was structured, everything was clear. I just realized that at that moment, when I was already working with someone who had gone through this path, um, I saved myself a lot of time, energy, effort, and probably money. So listen to your heart and choose the path that resonates with you right here inside. Trust this voice of your soul because this is probably the first and most important step on this journey.